on in the background is Ball Pit by Kenny Sun and friends. We're just going to bounce back and forth between a vlog and a pseudo game review. Now, I'm going to keep the audio from the game muted. They do have Twitch integration options, but I wasn't able to find a policy about the licensing and otherwise copyright rules on their sound effects. It probably would have been fine, but we'll get something royalty-free in here later. So right out of the gates, the intro cutscene is giving me something to the tune of apocalyptic Katamari, and we do love Katamari. So, what is Ball Pit, and more importantly, should you try it? Ball Pit is a single-player, roguelite, brick breaker / bullet hell with some town-building mechanics. Now, that's a lot of game dev jargon, but is it fun and is it a good value? The core action stage gameplay loop is something of a brick breaker combined with Space Invaders, which is a fairly low skill floor for understanding. Bouncing the balls into enemies will eventually have them break. Collecting the gems that they drop during the stage will help to level you up, which is where a bit more complexity is introduced. The level up will present you with options to upgrade your character, and those upgrades can be mixed and matched. Given the random nature of those options and the variety of combinations, no run is quite the same and it keeps things from getting stale. The adjustable game speed is a very nice feature while you're learning what's going on. However, the game will ultimately reward you for playing at higher speeds. Additionally, while the game is single-player, the leaderboards wherein you can compete with your friends do include timestamps of completion. You'll have to move around to collect gems and coins before they roll off screen, but once your experience bar has filled up, you will be presented with the level up pages. The detailed stat pages appear to be solely informational, while the upgrade page will give you choices ranging from new active ball, passive abilities, or if you're already maxed out, commodities for your town. Don't be afraid of the reroll button when you have the coin for it. Now, while the stage progresses, I want to take the time to kind of just reflect on how things have been going recently. I cannot believe that it's already 2026. Where did 2025 go? I hope that 2025 was fruitful for you, however you chose to spend it. Approaching the end of 2024, I had started to lose some steam in terms of publishing to this channel, and a fair bit of that sluggishness was brought on by the immovable mountain, which is the pre-holiday rush of clients trying to get last-minute jobs in before the new year hit. Basically a blackout period for all of my coworkers and myself. So when 2025 finally did roll around and I was reflecting about 2024, much as I am now about 2025, I came to the conclusion that I either needed to double or triple down on YouTube or get a new job. So I had started off 2025 reviewing video descriptions and meta tags and thumbnails, posted a couple of things, and then fell off of the face of the earth, or at least the face of the internet, because I did, in fact, manage to make the career change, which has been a breath of fresh air for me. I'm able to make use of my degree, I get some professional development in, there's space to play around in the realm of poorly documented software interactions. Truly, overall it's been good. My only real issue is how much time I spend commuting. And the reason that I find that to be an issue is because 90% of what I do could be done remotely. But enough musing about that. We're approaching the first mini-boss of the stage, which is basically just a bigger goon. I do find it pretty cool that they open out the width of the lane anytime that they introduce one of these bosses. But the first two mini-bosses of Stage 1 are basically just standard gameplay, so we're gonna continue on with the vlog side of things. As I had mentioned, it was around this time last year that I last reflected deeply on the state of this channel, and many of my thoughts remain similar now to how they were then. The crux to my thoughts this year has got to be the low publication rate, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I published 5 videos in 2025, and one of those has been unlisted and filed away under a public playlist. 4 videos being added to the standard channel space over the course of a year is not a lot. In spite of that, we have 10 additional subscribers this year, which is fantastic. You guys are awesome. Would I like to publish more often? Yes. Do I have plenty of open projects to complete? Also yes. Will I be using artificial intelligence as a crutch to release additional content? Never. So what's the plan then? No plan, just a direction. Predominantly, we've been here with games that I enjoy, mostly retro titles, as well as some information technology stuff, more specifically free open source software such as Debian Linux. So when I say we have a direction, I mean work towards closing out some of those ongoing projects. For example, our Uranium playthrough has been on the back burner for the better part of a year. I've still been signing on to collect mystery gifts, but I haven't sat down to finish editing our prior training montage. I've got plenty of content recorded for multiple projects, both computing technologies and also games, but I simply haven't been putting in the hours editing. It's always around the new year that people make bold claims to themselves and others about all of the things which they'll be doing more of in the upcoming year. But few seem to truly consider the implication that they need to do less of something else in order to accomplish those goals. For that reason, I don't subscribe to New Year's resolutions in society's expected sense. I still think it's a wonderful time to reflect and potentially reevaluate. Because so many people are taking off from work, it creates a sense of calm and opportunity for catharsis, which has grown rare in the world today. Would I like to spend more time video editing in 2026? Yes. Will I be able to reallocate my time in a way which allows me to do so? Perhaps. Do I regret how I allocated my time in 2025? No. No, not really. Ultimately, the way I chose to spend my time in 2025 should, if all goes smoothly, put me in a position to spend more time producing the content that I would like to. And that, my subjective position, is how I personally evaluate myself at the start of a year. There are lots of variables involved, but if you distill it down to the simplest possible question of, am I in a better spot now than I was a year ago? And the answer is yes, then you probably shouldn't be stressing about making major revisions to your life right now, because, miracles aside, you must have been doing enough correctly. Moreover, even if you don't feel as if you're in a better position, if you're in at least a similar position, not really moving backwards, and you've learned something, then you are in a better position. My current conundrum is how do I take all of the interesting things that I'm learning and parse them into videos for all of you, as well as get through my own backlog of recorded content. I might do more vlogging developer content like this because I've done programming, but it's just a little stale to look at code that's being voice-overed. But I do know that I would like to get a more frequent upload happening. And ideally I could find a way to do that which doesn't require me to stop pursuing my other hobbies. But I suppose we'll cross those bridges as we get to them. I just wanted to touch base with all of you. And now we're approaching the final boss of the first stage, and it was a bit more than I was expecting. While we wait for the boss to crawl onto screen, let's take a moment to talk about game value. Ball Pit is available on Steam, the Switch, the Xbox and PS5 stores, and the Switch too. On Steam, it's retailing for $14.99 USD, but I picked it up at $11.99, 20% off. While achievement progress isn't the best metric, of the 2 members of my household currently playing, Player 1 has logged 21.3 hours and 41% of the achievements, while Player 2 has logged 14.6 hours and 17% of the achievements. At a little over 35 hours for a $15 title, keeping in line with the arcade game theme, show me an arcade where you could play for an hour for 50 cents. So in terms of value, is the game a good value? And while it is subjective, I certainly think so. I've still got over half the game to play through. Additionally, the game has been released for almost 3 months now, and there is no paid DLC, but they've been patching with additional content. Not bug fixes, just adding more content to the game for free now that you've already bought it. Is the game fun? Again, I'd say so. I think the core gameplay loop is pretty good overall. The later stages so far seem to follow the same format of a handful of mini-bosses, followed by a vastly different end-stage boss. Like the Skeleton King, who's invulnerable from the front and you need to hit his crown, who turns the game for the first time into a true bullet hell. I was fortunate with my choices for fusion and evolution this round. Not that I knew yet, since this was my first time playing, but there are combinations that make the game nearly impossible to play on certain levels. Of course, that's part of the fun of a roguelike game. You don't know if you're going to be able to complete your run just based on random number generation, where it becomes up to the skill of the player to adapt to whatever cards are handed to them. But I called it a roguelite earlier, and the reason for that is that there is incremental progression between stage attempts. Your hero or hunter characters will level up outside of the stages, giving them small stat boosts to bring into the next stage with them. Additionally, as you progress, you'll be collecting the resources to build out a small town of adventurers to delve into the pit with you. And some of the buildings within your town will give you permanent upgrades for within the matches. Once this stage ends, it'll take us briefly out to the town stage, where the game will allow us to build and then to harvest from our creations. And the town development cycles are gated by playing the game or out of game time. Action stage, strategic RPG mechanic. Action stage, strategic RPG mechanic. You know where I've seen that before? Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. I don't know why more games don't do this, because it provides for a really good gameplay loop. And for my first time playing this, we're getting really down to the wire on the first boss. Which, frankly, I think is also a good thing. Even the first level should feel like a challenge when you're learning to play, and I don't think that enough games these days do that. Regardless, overall I've thoroughly enjoyed this game so far, and I intend to beat it at some point. However, this is likely the only video that I will make on this topic, since I feel that this is really a game that's best enjoyed by actually playing it rather than watching. But I wanted to showcase it anyway because I feel like not that many people are talking about it yet. And honestly, they should be, because it's just pretty good. Completing the deepest level that you have access to with a new character awards you with one of these gears, and you need to get gears to progress into later stages, so you're going to need to beat each level on multiple characters. And if you've made it this far, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here. We're going to take things back to town in just a sec. After the end of stage breakdown, inside of the town also gives you its own breakdown. Building blueprints acquired, various unlocks. Since it's our first time here, the tutorial for how the harvest system works and how building things works. They don't really give you a heads up of how the harvest system is going to play out. However, it's kind of okay because you're able to rearrange everything that you build later at no penalty. The short of it is that you're going to bounce all of your little players off of the various resources to collect things or to build things. The first action stage, as well as the first time in the village here, is a bit hand-holdy in terms of the tutorial aspect with all of the pop-ups and information hitting you. It becomes much less overt as the game progresses. Pros and cons, you could button mash through it if you want, you could take the time to read it if you want, but it's still a pop-up. But you know what? I will take those tutorial pop-ups over microtransactions any day. Oh, and I believe that the sheriff's station, which they award you after your first run, is the only proper building in the game that doesn't require a construction phase. Later on, you'll need to bounce your players off of the building in order to help construct the rest of the village. Since I see that there's another building here that I need stone to construct, I decide to build myself an outcrop of rocks. It becomes quickly apparent that there's a lot of stuff to unlock, things to be upgraded, room to expand the village, and overall I was just very pleasantly surprised with this game. I've been playing on a gamepad and it's been very comfortable, very Geometry Wars. The skill curve is a little weird though with the leveling system. Not necessarily bad, just weird. In a way where oftentimes if you find yourself struggling, it's probably because you need to build something specific to help you progress. That more or less wraps up what I've got to say about Ball X Pit. Definitely worth a chance if you like this sort of game. More content about computers and role-playing games is on the way. Whether you loved or hated this, hit one of those thumbs to let me know, because it will help me decide whether or not I'm going to do more content like this, or if I should go back to the old formula. The folks in the lab over at YouTube think that you might be interested in this, and once again, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Ball pit, ball, ball, ball pit, ball X pit, ball, ball, ball.